So how to come over it? The trick is, again, to change the topic, the perspective, so that this very temptation of, my God, I cannot do it, the ethical temptation is presented to you as your weakness. No? If you cannot kill, you are weak. A true hero does it. But I want to mention Himmler for another reason. He nonetheless admitted, my God, you are literally sometimes covered with blood. You gas, you poison people with poisonous gases, whatever. How can you remain human in all of this? Do you know what was Himmler's solution? Bhagavad Gita. You know that Indian epic. You know what happened in the central part of Bhagavad Gita? Arjuna, the Indian warrior king, addresses, appeals to God, asking him, my God, now I lead the army, I have to order attack, but thousands will die, families will suffer, how can I do it? And the God, Krishna, I think, appears and gives to Arjuna a brief lesson in, let's call it, Hindu militarism, no? I know, I had great debates with this, and I am not satisfied with how some of my Hindu friends try to squeeze out of this by claiming, no, you must read this metaphorically, and so on, no? Namely, the answer of Krishna is basically this quick recourse to this ontology of appearances, which we also find in Buddhism, no? Like, reality, substantial reality doesn't exist. What we perceive as reality is Maya, the veil of false appearances, and so on. So if you arrive at spiritual enlightenment, that is to say, this Atman and so on, unity of you with the God, which is this kind of an abyss of abstract spirituality, then you see that that's the only reality. So the logical conclusion, you can kill whatever, as much as you want in this reality, literally, the God says. I can quote it to you. Kill, do it, it doesn't count because nothing really is killed, just appearances and so on, and so on. Now, I will go a step, which is why, incidentally, as I read in a biography of Himmler, he always carried in his pocket a Bhagavad Gita in special leather edition and so on, no, to remind him of true ethics and so on. Now, let me return to Oriental, true, more authentic Oriental thought, Zen Buddhism. Maybe some of you, if you are old enough to remember from the hippie times what we were reading, it was one of the most famous popularizers of Zen Buddhism, which was very popular already in the hippie movement, was D.T. Daisetsu Suzuki, a great popularizer. But what is a little bit less known is that in the 30s and 40s, he was a great propagator of Japanese attack on China and generally of Japanese militarism. And incidentally, he openly admits it. These are not those hippie texts, make love, not war, and peace, and holistic relationship to women and to nature or whatever. But this is the true Suzuki, and it's wonderful to read him. Wonderful in a terrifying sense, because he not only justifies the Japanese aggression on China, claiming that basically it's this disgusting pseudo-theology of stain and picture. You know, this idea of when you perceive evil, it's as like when you look at a picture and you are too close and you just see a stain. But when you pull far away enough, you see that what you thought was a stain is really just an element which contributes to the harmony of the whole. So the idea is we humans caught in our terrestrial limited reality perceive killing as a stain. But from a proper divine perspective, it contributes to global harmony, no? And so on and so on. Okay, that's the standard theology. You also find it in the West, in Christianity, and so on. He went a step further, Suzuki. He tries to also resolve this Himmler problem, no? How to kill without feeling guilty. And he goes in a terrifying way pretty further. If you don't want to learn more about it, read my book, only in English, I think, till now, and German, whatever, The Puppet and the Dwarf, where I where I quote the stuff, namely, the first solution of Suzuki is to, he said, I know how difficult it is to kill. Like, you suffer, sorry, you will be the victim here. Somebody must be, like, I have to kill you, no? With knife. Okay, now it's difficult. No, I do this to you, but Suzuki, it's almost like kind of a bad joke. He says, no, when I describe the situation like this, you look at me like a frightened rabbit, I kill you, and so on. He says, no, this is when I'm still caught in the false illusion of substantial reality, when I still perceive myself as a subject, agent, author of my own acts. But Suzuki says that I must, once I reach the Buddhist enlightenment, this famous called Satori in Zen Buddhism, the same scene would have been described in a totally different way. I no longer am part of reality. I am not even I. Just my mind is a passive point of, not even point, medium of observation. I'm in it for nothing, where I see, just as the dance of shadows, of appearances, my sword dancing in reality, and somehow your body dances and it gets stuck on it. And I just observe it, and I'm in it for nothing, and in this way, if you look at it, it's not so difficult to kill. Then he goes on, and even, that's the nicest point, says, sorry, this is not Suzuki, I will not cheat, this is another Zen Buddhist theorist from the same age, late 30s, who, I have exact references in my book, who said that for ordinary people who don't have the time to reflect on and to meditate too much, the best path to the goal of Zen Buddhist meditation, which is the liberation from this being caught into false reality, is military discipline. They say, imagine a soldier who learns to suspend all reflection. A command comes, shoot, you shoot. Without even a minimum of reflection, at that point you broke out of the prison of your false ego. You no longer perceive yourself as agent, and so on and so on. Now, let me make it clear here, again, even in stronger terms, one should insist on what I already said apropos Karadzic. I'm not making fun of Suzuki as a bad Zen Buddhist and so on. This would make it all too simple. The point is that he undoubtedly was a great, authentic Zen meditator and writer and so on and so on. But nonetheless, he could. I will approach this, if there will be time, later. But you are victim of the linear metaphysical Western notion of time. No. Okay, sorry. No, let's go on. These are serious things. You know, the ethical conclusion of this is a very hard one. It is that inner authenticity is not what you truly are about. Inner authenticity is a lie. In the sense of, you know, one of the fashionable so-called postmodern deconstructionist dogmas is, it was put very nicely by Richard Rorty, we are stories that we are telling ourselves about ourselves. So we don't have any substantial identity. You know, the way you structure your universe, this is what you are. So from this, immediately a whole ethical program emerges, which is the main mode to fight racism would have been that we listen to each other's stories, no? Like, the idea would have been that, let's say, we come from different groups, no? And the way to bring peace is, why don't you tell me you're boring? I hate them because I also hate my stories about, you know, your poems, your tradition, your food, your folkloric dances, all that stuff which makes me immediately, you know what I mean? And of course, I allow you the same to me. This attitude was best expressed in a motto of some, I don't know, multicultural movement where they said something and they intended to be something very deep. An enemy is someone whose story we were not ready to hear.